Catholic Youth Ministers, welcome. So great that you're here today. My name is Joe Rouchet, and I want to welcome you to a special edition on Lake Nokomis in Minneapolis, Minnesota, my YouTube channel, Catholic Youth Ministry Matters. Hi again, everybody. Great to have you here. Thanks so much for tuning in. My name again is Joe Rouchet, and I have a special guest here with me, Will Murley. Will is so awesome. Will did a year or two on the road with Ned, and then he put up with me for 2 years working with Lifeline, where we reached 175,000 young people over 25 years. And he's been kind enough to join me in this episode to talk about his first year as a Catholic youth minister, and what are some highlights and what are some challenges. So I hope you enjoy the episode. So we're just going to jump right in there. So Will, your first year in youth ministry.
Yeah.
How did it go?
Well, that's a great question, Joe. So my first year involved COVID, so that made everything kind of crazy.
Oh, geez.
But I imagine that overall it would follow like the typical sort of spread of events and sort of feelings with being a youth minister for the first time, which is just a lot of high highs and then a lot of like, what the heck is going on? How am I going to solve these problems? Like, I don't have volunteers for this, or like, is anyone even going to come to this event? But then the Holy Spirit's still coming through and coming in clutch. So,
oh, very good. As you look back on your first year, was there like one thing that was like, wow, God really worked in this situation or in this person, or anything along those lines at all?
yeah, that's a great question. A real quick highlight would be we had a middle school camp a few months back, and just as soon as it started, I felt the Holy Spirit really powerfully, and it was incredible. But a short story, there's a lot of really great things that happened, but one was that there was this high schooler I was praying over, and I just got this image for him of like this fort in Florida called the Castillo de San Marcos, and like I just prayed, like, I really feel like God's calling you to be like strong like this fort in your faith, because like this fort, the way it was built, like cannonballs would bounce off of it, like what it was made out of. So I like 20 minutes later, he walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, Will, like I was at that fort last summer." And I'm like, "What? Like you were?" So it's just so cool that I was praying for this teen, and just the thing that I had in prayer for him was a place he was at the last year, and that's just totally a God moment with that.
That is so awesome,
wild,
I tell
yeah.
you. Well, with all the great stuff, and I've been doing this stuff for a while too. You got just those golden moments and those little
Yeah.
conversion moments. But maybe we take a few moments to shift and maybe let the folks know some of the challenges, especially in your first year. The first year can be very like challenging and demanding, and can be overwhelming.
Yeah, of course,
Was that
yeah.
your experience, or did you just say alone?
It was a lot of my experience. Fortunately, I had like a lot of years being a net missionary under my belt, and also some job experience outside of that. But there were a few things that took me by surprise. One of them, which it really stood out to me, was like, as a youth minister, it's not like you're doing one thing in your job. You're practically running a small business. Like, you're an entrepreneur, and you have to wear so many different hats. Like today I did budgeting, I was looking for volunteers, I was doing a Google survey for people about when we could have a Steubenville reunion, and there's just so many things that you have to do, just it takes a spread of personalities to do them, but you have to compact them into one to really be a good youth minister. Like, you have to do a lot of things, Joe, and it makes it difficult.
Oh boy, yeah. Tell me about it. Tell me. It is kind of like a mini CEO.
Yeah.
You got to recruit, you got to market, you've got to communicate in the parish, you got to communicate to the kiddos, you got parent meetings, you got parish staff finance meetings. What else might have been another big challenge? Anything else that was like, wow, didn't see that one coming?
Yeah, another challenge would be that when it comes, you really need to know the youth. It's almost like knowing your audience. So for example, the parish, whenever I started there, like, it'd be really hard to do a youth group here, like a traditional youth group, because it's like a richer, more white collar area, and just academics are king, and also sports as well. So something that happened before me that my predecessor put together, but I continued, as just a great idea, as dynamite. And that was to have something called leadership team, which is like the focus is on leadership, and something that would look good on a resume, especially if you're a high schooler going into college, looking for a first job. So that's the way we were able to do ministry to these kids, to these teens, to these youth, was not calling it youth group and giving it some name like, I don't know, Blast or Summit or something, I don't know, but being like, this is about leadership. And then we did teach some leadership skills, like we combined elements of the faith, which is practicals of leadership. We do nights on what politics in the church, or psychology, or knowing yourself, or like different ways to pray for personal prayer, like the rosary, Lectio Divina, whatever, and have like knowing our audience, like we were able to do this. In some parishes, like leadership team would just kind of mean nothing. But
Right.
for our group of youth, it worked really well. So just knowing like the youth and like what they need, and parents are great too. They'll happily tell you the scene, like the beat of the parish or like the community too, and that's a resource to tap into.
Wow, very good, very good. If you had to identify like 3 areas to like, boy, make sure this is on your radar as a youth minister. You'd already listed one. You discover that you're a CEO,
Yeah.
and you've got to run so many multifaceted initiatives simultaneously. Anything else that's like, wow, know this or be aware this is coming your way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So something that, especially in the church with different virtues rules that like most dioceses have, or I guess all dioceses have, it's you need volunteers to do what you do. Like first of all, even if we didn't have all these rules, and there's a reason for the rules, of course, but like, even if we didn't have them, like you can't put all these things on yourself. Like you can't do everything. You can't be Superman. Like you need to construct a team around you.
Yeah.
And I think it's a common struggle in youth ministries. People don't stay too long, so they don't have the time to like develop this team. But I know people who stay in it for a while, and they practically have a legion of adults behind them, and they can just delegate, and it's great. So like treating these adults really well is like just really important, Joe. Like because they need to feel special, and also they're doing something that's difficult that a lot of other parishes would probably pay for, and they're doing it for free. So treat them well.
Yeah. That whole area of volunteers. Yeah, I was reading up on some stats. The average youth minister's tenure was 18 months, but now due to to various reasons, it's kind of shrunk down to about 12 months. And Will's hit on a couple of things right here with understanding that your job and my job in youth ministry is so multifaceted. So we're a CEO. We'll talk about that in upcoming episodes. You know, what is that all about? And I put some org charts together for you last time on our last episode to look at. But that whole idea of being a CEO, you're leading people. Then the other one that can take out youth ministry people is tying into volunteers that Will just mentioned. This you can be a lone ranger youth minister because you don't have anybody and you don't last.
Yeah, it's a recipe for burning out for sure.
And I think when I think about one of my first year too, just understanding how to communicate inside the parish with all the different groups and the finance council, the pastoral council, the secretaries, the other faith formation departments. That was one that kind of like caught me off guard. Wow. And learning to work with the parish secretary. Oh my, some fun stories there. Well, as we wrap up this episode, what would you share with the folks to close our time?
Yeah, good question. So this is paramount now, like you have to do this. And like you need to be like a man or a woman of prayer. So like practicals, it's like with youth ministry, you're not going to do it without knowing the practicals and like the basics and like having boundaries. And boundaries would actually be a good talk for another time, another episode perhaps. But just the big thing is like being a man or woman of prayer. Like you should be getting at least 30 minutes of personal prayer every single day. And then like frequenting the sacraments as well, because like it is the most important thing the church like is doing right now is evangelization, like bringing people to Christ. And so much of it, it's kind of like damage control. Like it's within the church, like the church is hemorrhaging. So like you need to be praying every single day. And if not, like you're going to get worn down and you're going to get taken out.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, we've been doing pretty well dodging the planes launching out of the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Thanks again for tuning in. It's so great to have you. If you can, I'd love to come to your parish. Check out my website, joerouchet.com. Also, click that red subscribe button and the bell icon next to it so you're the first to know when I release a new video. Until then, keep up the mission and keep your eyes fixed because you matter and Catholic Youth Ministry matters.